DIY.
DIYers. Welcome in to another episode of Curtis King Reacts with special guest Derek, mixed by Ali. First and foremost, how you doing, sir? Oh, you muted up. You still muted up on that side. Nah, still. Hold on, let me see if there's something I can change on this side. Uh-oh. Yeah, still muted up.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. There we go. Once again, man, welcome in. How you doing, bro?
All is well, man. Thank you for having me.
Man, come on. Let me give the intro and we'll get straight to the conversation. I appreciate you being here once again. So, DIYers, we're sitting down with one of the most influential, especially in hip-hop mixing engineers, Derek, mixed by Ali. Ali, as a sonic mastermind behind Top Dog Entertainment, TDE, Ali has helped shape the sound of artists like Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, Absol, and many, many more. His work on albums like Good Kid, Mad City, and Damn has cemented him as a legend in the engineering world. But beyond TDE, Ali is building something bigger. Through EngineEars, he's empowering audio engineers to take control of their careers. And now with this new partnership with Symphony OS, he's taken that mission even further, helping engineers secure ownership and independence in an industry that often sidelines them. Man, it is an absolute pleasure, man. You know, I don't want to be too formal with you because I feel like I've known you for so many damn years. But, bro, let me just say this one tidbit. Seeing you at NAMM in your element on that stage, bro, like this shit gave me goosebumps because I remember there was a time where Ali wasn't too vocal in these sessions. You was just straight to the work and you know what I mean? But seeing you in that element be such a natural, man, it's beautiful to see after this long journey, though.
Man, I think it's just overall growth. I've early on, just coming from where I came from and how I grew up, right? You always just be a fly on the wall. You speak when spoken to, right? You just understand how to move in a certain way. And, I've carried that into my whole career. And, I've been blessed to be in, some of the most, game-changing rooms in the world. And I've learned for so long and, grateful for the journey and the career that I've, had and continue to have as an audio engineer. Now I could take all these things that I've learned throughout this journey and, apply it now into this next journey, which is, building EngineEars. So, yeah, man, incredible journey.
Man, I never forget. I was in a barbershop in Rialto and I got the call about this idea that you had for EngineEars. And you were letting me know some of the early, and I'm like, man, it sounds amazing. I'm not really a mixing engineer, so I don't know what to add to it, but it sounds beautiful. To see it manifest the way it is insane. Let me give a quick little message to my moderators. No mess today. Anybody come in here with any mess or trying to ask messy questions, that's not the purpose of this. And actually, even the conversation that we'll have about, Ali's contribution to TDE won't be the majority of this conversation, because I really want to talk about genuinely, especially seeing this from my vantage point, what he's doing as an entrepreneur and the things that he's doing with EngineEars and these amazing companies. I want to hyper focus on that personally. But there are some questions, and I'm grateful that you gave me the opportunity to get these off. I don't know if you know, bro, you were the first person to ever teach me how to EQ a beat.
Man, I think in those days, I didn't even know how to fucking EQ a beat. The German,
I did.
Man, I mean, it was crazy. Going back to those days, man, just being that individual that, had all the cracked plugins. I think I had a stolen inbox that I got off Craigslist.
Wow.
It was, just constantly just throwing things against the wall and seeing how they stuck, learning how to EQ, learning the concept of compression, just all those things early on, having the limited tools and resources. I think that's, what kind of molded my sound and who I am today, just DIY at its core,
Come on. That's our tribe over here is DIY for sure. Man, and y'all were the first example that I saw of what was possible. Especially within the confines of a home studio, because I thought I was cooking over, as a neighbor over in Carson, and I came in there and I was like, you can have all this in your house. I've seen the booth and all of that stuff. But man, there's been many a times that I just sat there as a fly on the wall watching you cook, because as you started seeing, some of the folks over here kind of clowning each other, you always were the one I felt like stayed locked in, because it was so much work that you were getting to. One thing that I never forget, I don't even know if you remember this, But speaking specifically to Kendrick, man, you used to tell me, you looked at me right in the eye, Ali. You said, "This nigga don't stop working, bro." And you were like, "Yo, he records nonstop." Can you talk a little bit about how deep that vault really was from that era?
Are you kidding me? I think I came in. The first project was Training Day, K-Dot Training Day. If anybody wants to go up and search it up on YouTube. But again, just when I came into TDE, right, and I've always just wanted to learn. Just that's always just my mantra is just understanding things that I don't understand. And having artists like Absol, J-Rock, Schoolboy, K-Dot, Kendrick, and they're constantly recording. Those are the times that I was able to really sharpen on my sword, right? Who else has the luxury of having four, competitive, artists, lyricists that, all they want to do themselves is record, right? So, the environment was just everybody's just attaining their 10,000 hours, right? And it was literally a moment in time, we would spend so much time. I remember just going to that Louisiana right there on Avalon, right across from Soul's Magic Disc, the family CD shop. Man, we would just, again, put $5 together to get some chicken, right? Just so we could eat for the day and just get back to the session. And, those were those defining moments, that made all of us great,
Man, I remember specifically coming in some of those studio sessions and seeing a pan of fries, and I'm like, "Oh, they in here working. There's no reason to not be in here working." Were you self-taught? Like, how did that journey even begin for you? Because you had a lot on your plate by the time I had even came into the picture.
Yeah, man. The journey began before that. I just always been a hustler, so always been computer literate, always loved just putting things together and getting into audio itself. I was making ringtones, back in the day, the Chirp, the Nextel, the Boost Mobile, everyone had one.
Polyphonic joints.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So, during that time, there wasn't no real ringtones on these phones, just those polyphonic ringtones. And, I was able to crack the Nextel Boost Mobile phones and put real songs on there before, ringtones became a thing. So, I would have friends come over after school. I went to Gardena High. I lived right across the street. My grandmother's house was right across the street. So, I would have people come over and, record these 30-second parody ringtones. Don't answer this girl's phone. I'm saying? Mom's is calling, pick the fuck, get your ass home, whatever the case was. And that ultimately just had me falling in love with the arts of recording. 30-second ringtones turned into, 2-minute songs. And, I started charging now $20 a session, for people to come over after school. And, and it was something that, really intrigued me from an early age. Just the idea of, somebody coming, recording over this beat. And now this product, this piece of audio is now living forever. I can manipulate it with adding different effects, reverbs, delays, and, I can kind of add my own thumbprint to something. Right. And, I wasn't a producer. I tried to write some lyrics and, those would never see the light of day. But
how much I would pay to hear what those first ones sound like, Ali? How much I'll pay right now?
I might throw that at eBay one day. Right.
Come on.
But, again, the idea, it was just something that just pulled me in, again, that kid that had severe ADHD, can't stand still for shit. Right. But when I could sit there and affect a vocal or shape a snare, I could do that for 8, 9, 10 hours, and I felt at home, so, I started with the ringtones, and I wanted to learn more. And obviously I didn't have the resources or the money, the access to go to any, university or college that taught me audio engineering. So naturally I went to the internet, and there were the forums, futureproducers.com and gearsluts.com. Where there were two forums that I would go and I would upload just my mixes for people to review, and I would upload questions that I might have had, or whatever the case was, just so I can learn.
Right.
My phone plugging this up.
Yeah, I think it might have froze up for a second. I think if you deactivate and activate the camera, it should come right back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me see if there you go. You should be good after this.
Still froze up. Let me check the camera. I don't know what's going on.
No worries. Let me see if I switch this. Maybe if I do something to it. All right, there it is.
Am I back?
No, you good. You good. That's interesting, man. Because You know, I was going to ask this question only because you're probably the last person in possession of this infamous beat that has been, the story has been told so many different times. You remember the infamous Gunshots and 808s beats I produced?
Yeah, the one that Q got on. Yeah. So funny thing about that story. You know, I'm sorry, I'm getting this camera back to the right one.
No, you're good.
Here we go. So funny thing about that, you know, that beat, that was the first beat that Schoolboy got on when he, you know, joined TDE.
Right.
There was a song, there was a session, you know, because I had brought Q and I, you know, we know each other from a studio that I had in, you know, in his neighborhood. And we went to West LA together. Me and School went to West LA Community College. We played football together.
Right.
You know, I would record him on the weekends or after school. We'll, you know, pull up to the studio, whatever the case was. And, you know, I'm telling them like, yo, it's these guys over here in Carson that, you know, they got a cool studio, you know, they super chill. They just want to make real music. You know, come by. So we came by, and I think the guys, I think K-Dot and Soul and everybody was like testing his lyric skills out. And it was that beat, dog. I remember it to this day. It was just constant gunshot. It was obnoxious as fuck.
You know, I've never heard this song personally. I've never heard the song, and I haven't heard that beat since I put it, because that beat was on a CD that Ab sold when he first got signed to TDE. He was like, yo, Kurt, give me a CD. I'm gonna float this beat around TDE. And I was like, ooh, because at the time, you know, J-Rock was that guy. So I was like,
yeah,
I'm trying to get on the J-Rock. I was thinking about Bone Thugs and Harmony and the song that they had, Thug Love with Tupac.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, maybe he'll see the vision if I try to. No, that ended up
being real. I think that song is out. If you search Schoolboy turned Hustler.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken, Schoolboy turned Hustler on YouTube. That was the first mixtape I think that we put out when he started coming around at TDE. Schoolboy turned Hustler, and if I'm not mistaken, that beat is on there because it had Absol, K-Dot, and Q. I think J-Rock was on it too. If I'm not mistaken.
I will definitely look at that in my own time. So the last question I got right here about those years. At what point did it hit you that TDE wasn't just a West Coast movement or a local movement anymore, but something way bigger?
I don't think it was ever a thought about a West Coast movement. I think overall, I think everyone's mission was just to make good music. You know, that's always been the goal. You know, all of us came from different parts of LA, you know, different backgrounds, different facets of life. And you know, it was really like an escape, like, you know, having, you know, the house that Top had that, you know, had the studio bills in the back that he provided for us. It was an escape from everyone's just like problems and like just life that we were kind of navigating in that early time, right? You know, all of us, you know, I just got out of high school, you know, the guys just graduated, you know, everyone's just still in the early, you know, late teens and early 20s. You know, so it wasn't really a thought about, you know, again, we're going to be the biggest West Coast label, the biggest label in general, right? It was, you know, how do we make the best music? How do we, and I think, you know, the 10,000 hour theory that I speak on so much, you know, I think TDE is a result of that, with having 6 individuals, including Soundwave, right? You know, who all, you know, played their roles, right? Played their roles, you know, and they had a group of individuals that kept them competitive. Right. Imagine being an artist, right? And you're going against early Q, early Soundwave, I mean, early Absol, early J-Rock, early K-Dot. Like, you know, it was a constantly just a rap battle at all times of who's the best, who's better. And it was friendly family competitiveness, right? But imagine what that does to somebody's skill level, you know, and how fast they advance, right? You know, within their skill levels, you know. And so, you know, I think, again, going back to the initial statement, I believe that, you know, those years, right, were really meant, right, to attain those hours needed to become great before the world even heard of who they are. Right? And we're seeing the outcome of all that now, right? You know, with where all the artists are, you know. So
I tell you, from my vantage point, I never had a doubt. I said the way that the work is being done here, and it wasn't like it was a cubicle and it was formal. It was exactly as Kendrick described in Heart Part 6. When I heard that song, the feeling of nostalgia, you know, me just being, I'm just wide-eyed looking around like, man, I just know one day the rest of the world gonna know what I'm hearing in here. And you know, it was infectious. Even like, you know, my guy Javante, I remember working with him and then seeing him in an environment, and I saw his work ethic change as well. Man, that was my last question I had about that. I want to talk about
No, I mean, just to go off that, I mean, you have when you're surrounded by just like people like that, people that just push you at a constant level. You know, it made me who I am as an engineer, right? If I didn't have 24 hours worth of sessions on a daily basis, right? To be able to sharpen up my skills, right? With Soundwave, having 4 artists to curate and make beats from the ground up, right? All it's repetition, right? There's no shortcut to success, especially in the music industry. Right. There is no get rich quick scheme. There is no overnight success. Right. It's all about repetition, consistency. Right. And also being a good fucking person. Right. At the end of the day. Right. But, it's an attest, and it's really a testament to, just that formula of like, you can't escape the hard work, and that hard work, I guess, they can go back as far as 2005. Right. That is not stopping today, So for anybody that's watching, right, just looking for that quick paycheck, right. It took 15 years for us to get to where we're at, right? So and I believe that we're still not done, so it's repetition, consistency, dedication, tenacity, right? I'm writing this book, and it's basically talking about, these plugins to success that we've identified based on my journey. And, no matter what field, if you're in business, venture capital, music, film, right? There's this similar formula, and it's, repetition, consistency, work ethic, discipline, these keys, these plugins to success that we talk about, so I'll make sure we talk more about that when that book comes out.
Man, congratulations on working on that, man, because I know it's gonna be a lot of folks benefiting from it, man. It was so dope too to see you in this space as a teacher and doing the things that you were doing on YouTube, because there was lessons. Like I said, you taught me how to EQ, even if you didn't know how. Hell, I learned something that day. When I saw you take the high end and we'll go up, and I said, I feel like my beat can breathe now. And you was like, man, and you used to tell me, he's like, hey, Kurt, man, you got to turn these beats down, bro. Like
there's a lot coming at you. It was a lot coming at you quick. You know what I'm saying? Nah, you got to figure it out now, though.
Man, so look, it's come a long way. Well, I want to talk about your role as an engineer in the work that you've done, but I want to kind of geek out on some engineer stuff with you. Fans hear the final product, but they don't always realize how much of an engineer shapes an artist's sound. How would you describe your role in this process?
The perfect way I'm able to describe it is, imagine like a Chevy engine, right? When you buy like an old, the 69 Chevy, right? It runs, right? It putts along, right? You might have some oil dripping, right? But it gets you from A to B, right? But imagine you take that engine out, refurbish it, right? You clean every nut and bolt, right? You replace, old, crusty pipes and tubes, and you put it back together. Now you're rolling from mile one, right? And now it gets you, instead of from A to B, to A to Z. Right. I look at mixing like doing that. Right. An artist has an artistic vision for where they want to take a song. Right. They created it. Right. When they listen to a beat, they automatically know what melodies and harmonies they want to, lay across this landscape. My job is to take their artistic vision, right, and get it from A to Z when they've just, had the idea to go to A to B. It's like a road trip with your homeboy, right? You know what I'm saying? The artist is the person in the passenger seat with a map, knowing where they want to go, right? It's up to the engineer to get in that driver's seat and take them there. And that's always my role, is, taking an artist where they want to go sonically. Every artist has different vocal textures, different tones, different energy, different feelings, right? Everyone has their sound, right? And a good engineer is able to, identify what that sound is, right? What their North Star is regarding sonics, right? And preserving that, right? At the highest intention. And that's my job. We're just a tool. A lot of engineers nowadays on social media might have a lot of followers, yada, yada, yada. They think they're bigger than the program, right? No one's bigger than the program. And that program is the song.
Hold on, let me give you it was a matter of time. Yes, sir.
So it's as an engineer, as a producer, right? We're tools. We're tools for that artist in that song, right? To be able to, take them both where they need to go, right? And that's, my take and my, just my idea on what I do as an audio engineer. I want to take an artist and help them go where they want to go.
Man, you also are one of the first people that made me look at mixing engineering as an art form. And I'll tell you very specifically, I don't remember the song, but you did a technique in which it was on a Kendrick song where he was coming from his regular voice and then it was cross-fading into a pitch. And I'm sitting here, and for the first time, I'm thinking about your hand and the actual music of things. And I'm like, I remember listening to that and be like, wait, we could do that? Almost like it was giving us permission to experiment with the mixing of it. Well, you've mixed some of the biggest albums of our time. What's your process when working with someone like Kendrick versus other artists?
I'm going to that first statement, about, that's what, again, sonically made me who I am, because I didn't come from the backgrounds of the music schools and didn't learn the traditional processes of making sure your snare and vocal dB ratio is this, that, and like, nah, if it felt good to me, I'm gonna run with it. Right. And, I think that song you're talking about is on Good Kid, Mad City. It was on Mad City, on the MC8 version. Right. Yes. And at the end of the song, Kendrick's voice, goes from a high pitch and it blends up with a lower pitch, and it constantly just, you experience the mix rather than listening to it. And, when I learned early on, right, to manipulate things to do that, right. And I'm like, oh, damn, that's how, I can, not be somebody behind the scenes and just be a mix. Like, people are going to be like, who the fuck did that? What was, like, go back and listen to cartoons and Serial, right? With featuring Gunplay, right? And, and the sonic landscape and the way that, you put headphones on and you can almost, just disappear in where everything outside of the lyrics are taking you, right? That's a product of an artist trusting their engineer, right? If it wasn't for Kendrick being like, yo, just try something crazy, just do something different, right? I'm going to leave for a few hours, just have fun, right? Me and my ADD would sit there and do 10 different versions of something to try to find something that stood out. Right. And that's what made me who I am, right? Going into then, my crazy life with YG, and then bringing that same mindset of allowing fans experiencing the song with that artist. Yeah. And then, the product of that is My Crazy Life, and then Schoolboy Q's album. And then, the list goes on, right? And it's a product just going above and beyond. A lot of people just believe just submitting a up and down clean mix, everything is legible, everything sounds great, cool, it's done. But anybody could do that, right? What are you going to bring to the table? How are you going to stand out amongst now the thousands and millions of other creatives around this world, right? And it's basic shit, man. Whatever you put into anything is what you're going to get out of it. If you're going to just give a basic mix just to pass QC and just to get done, right, you're going to get a basic ass fucking career. If you're going to go above and beyond and do things you're not even getting paid for, right, that's longevity, that's legacy.
And this is hip hop too. And one thing I appreciate about especially your mixes on the Ab Soul records I produce is that you let my drums breathe. And I feel like a lot of engineers, depending on what genre they come from, sometimes they mix hip hop drums like the rock drums. And it takes all the life, the dirty, you do the same thing with you've done the same thing with Tay Beast, in that you allow the grit to be the grit, the character to be the character. With that said, what's one underrated skill every engineer needs that isn't talked about enough?
Fucking attention to detail, paying attention to detail and listening. I think, I keep going back. I hear so many just sentiments from artists where, man, I told the engineer I wanted this and they told me no. What? Like, it's like, back in the day, engineer would get beat up for telling, like, nah, this is my song. Like, what the fuck you telling me? And that's like, you got the game fucked up. Like, you have to, again, you have to, again, you're there for the artist, just listen, pay, like, they're going to tell you what they want, right? They're going to tell you what they need. They're going to, be that, so, I think that's the most important skill, is just listening, right? And after listening is comprehending what you just listened to, what you just heard from that individual. Listening is skills, and comprehension are two major, I would say, with traits that, it's not, I don't know if it's being taught or it's being ignored nowadays. I don't know what's going on. But, those two things, very important. On the technical side, knowing the basics of moving around Pro Tools, right? Being able to move quick, being able to, troubleshoot problems, like when you're in the middle of a session and something just freezes out, just being a solution, right? As an engineer, as a producer, right? Our goal is to be solution oriented all the way around, right? The artist is in a booth and has a scratchy throat, go get a fucking water or get some tea, right? Be a solution, right? Because at the end of the day, what? Nobody's bigger than the program, right? If you need the artist, it's, we used to be like bartenders, right? When an artist comes into the studio and, they've had a rough day outside the studio and they bring some some energy where they're more standoffish and, you know, they're just venting about, like, nah, let's turn that around, let's turn that energy around so we can get through this session, so we can, make sure that we're, that's when you become an asset, when you're able to provide that level of comfortability of that's when you're an asset, right? And now, that engineers, now that artist is not going to want to work with anybody else because you guys are in sync. You're going to start seeing over time that you can finish that person's sentence creatively, right? It's a true investment, man. It's a true investment when you're, working with somebody who you truly believe in, that you think this artist or this group of individuals are going to be, X, Y, and Z in the world, right? It's an investment. It's a sacrifice, right? How many dinners with my girlfriend I had to cancel last minute because I had to go record J-Rock or go record at K-Dot, you know how many birthday parties I missed, and how many, the list goes on, right? But it's again, you're gonna get what you put into anything.
Man, it's funny, as I'm talking to you, you're making me remember some of the kind of the core principles that I carried from working with you guys, and that, one of those things is I think about the rules that y'all used to have on the big whiteboard, right, coming in, or the poster. And one thing I always remember is that I'll be in that room, and there'd be producers that are 10 times better than me. And I had to ask myself, how can I be an asset in this room? Well, if Ali hits me up and it's 1 o'clock in the morning, he needs the stems to, long-term too, I'm getting my ass up. I don't care where I'm at, and I'm sending those over. And I saw that got me in the invitation, not just with you guys, but in other rooms, because like you said earlier, being an asset is something that even if you're talented, nobody wants to work with somebody that's unreliable.
Man, hard work overrides talent when talent isn't working. You know how many talented motherfuckers I know that just sitting on the ass right now and just wasting that talent, right? But I'll give you 5 young, hungry motherfuckers that, will outwork anybody that you know what I'm saying, that's gonna always take the cake, right? There's a lot of talent, but talent is not everything, right? You gotta have the tenacity, you gotta be gritty, man. You gotta want it, right?
Man, and I appreciate you letting me get my, my first section of questions off. Let's talk about Ali, the engineer, man. I've been looking like that's my friend, bro. Like, I remember how far you came from all of this. I'm gonna ask these questions a little bit out of order, but I do want to talk about you buying the old Death Row studio. I know you've answered this at pretty sure at length, but I got some specific questions. One being, a while back you made headlines for buying the old Death Row studio. What made you decide to invest into that space?
Man, it could. Which one? So I would say the first one. I think during this time, man, just I've built a system. I'm big on systems and processes. And I built a system that just is flawless, right? When it comes to being able to maximize the amount of output, right? When it comes to what I'm working on, and I realized, like, a lot of people want to work with me, right? So it's, who am I to say no? I don't have the time. So during these times, I booked out 5 rooms throughout LA, 5 major rooms, and I had them blocked out for months at a time. And me just looking top level at all of the the money going in and the money going out and all these things, and I'm like, damn, like there's it's $300,000 a month that I'm paying on studio time to complete these albums. How do I get a piece of that? And not even just the mixing fees, and I'm thinking strictly as an entrepreneur, right? Not as a creative entrepreneur. How does the business Hat of Ali? How am I looking at Mixed by Ali as a business? And how do I maximize, right? How do I again, how do I just how do I build it up? And there was a random opportunity. Matt McNeil, Money Making Matt, my dog. At the time he was with Dreamville, and he was calling me like, "Yo, Ali, we're about to get rid of our studio in the Valley." I'm like, you want to come take it over? I'm like, nah, I don't really have that type of time. Like, I'm already stressed out. I got these albums. I'm going from studio to studio all day long. I'm checking, what I'm saying? It's I'm like, I don't really want to deal with that shit right now. Kept calling me. I'm like, what the fuck about the studio? They're just like, what? Is this, you trying to foist it on me? Like what? Like, what's up? Like, is there like something like what? And he was like, man, you sure we're about to give it up? It's Death Row old studio. I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, man, this is the Death Row studio. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is Can-Am. I'm like, you telling me that you guys been at Can-Am this whole time and you never told me?
Wow.
So I went by and checked it out. And if you guys don't know, Can-Am Recorders is a legendary recording studio, the premier studio from the 80s onward, 93 to 98, all of Death Row was created here. And then before that, you know, the Valley was like Hollywood back in the 80s, right? It was, you know, all the rock and roll music was done here. So everything from Pink Floyd, you know, Guns N' Roses, Michael Jackson, Prince, the list goes on. If you search the discography of Can-Am recorders, just countless hit rock and roll records. And you know, so, you know, I went by and checked it out, and I'm like, no, like, I would have told you yes over the fucking phone if you told me that, you know, where you guys were at.
Right.
So I go and I check it out. You know, it was they haven't done any renovations since the 80s. So, you know, it feels like an old office building. You know, carpet was it was just old and dated. Even the main room, you know, they had no subs in it. All the speakers were only in the ceiling, saw fitted into the ceilings, because, you know, in rock and roll, there's not too much, you know, subs. So they didn't really need it. So we ended up taking it, and we, you know, we started transforming it, you know, into now No Name Studios. You know, it was a bitch. I probably wouldn't do that again. You know, definitely
to get it where you need it specifically.
It was about $1 million all in. You know, and, you know, that's also dealing with contractors that, you know, I had a contractor named Vic Gardner at Mega Studio Monitors. I have a lawsuit coming your way, and stop hiding under that rock. We're going to find you, my guy. You know, so we dealt with that for a little bit. And, you know, once we brought on a new contractor, Andreas, he came in and saved the day. Midas touch, you know, he got, you know, the build over the fence, and it took a little over 2.5 years. And everything's, you know, brand new. You know, you can check the studio photos out at engineers.com/no name studios. And if you want to check out the photos and see what we've done to the place, it's now the premier location in the Valley.
That's crazy, man. Congratulations on that, man. When I saw that headline, I said, wait, what? So I said, I said, man, I look out playing, bro. You're not playing. Can we talk about EngineEars now? Can we get into this conversation and how you're building an independent movement, what you're doing? You know, I've seen you talk at length, specifically recently at NAMM, about, you know, kind of what went into making this. And I remember you were saying you kind of built EngineEars to give engineers more control over their business. What was the moment that made you realize engineers needed a platform like this?
Man, when I had to leave money on the table because I'm going to go bad on these A&Rs for owing me so much money. You know, the build of EngineEars is out of pure necessity. You know, as an audio engineer, right, you know, going from somebody who didn't have the background in business, didn't understand terminologies because I didn't go to school to learn this shit, right? You know, it was all strictly just, again, DIY, building it up myself. And, you know, I realized that it's just this industry, we're independent contractors. As an audio engineer, right, when I work with a label or I work with a client in the studio, like, we don't have an official job. We bill for the time or for the service, right? And that introduces just so much friction, right? Chasing your money, you know, making sure all your paperwork and contracts are situated, making sure your taxes are paid, right? Making sure that you have just a running ledger of your business, right? You know, and I realized early on, by not fucking paying taxes for 5 years, right? And realizing, like, wait, I got to pay these motherfuckers how much?
Yeah.
Like, nah, this is a problem, right? And, you know, so that always was just a thought within myself, like, something is wrong here, right? Nothing, like, something is not setting me up for success. But there was a moment in my career, I would say 2017, where, you know, I kind of hit this brick wall where I wasn't too inspired, you know. You know, I was partying heavy, like I was in the field having a blast. And, you know, just, again, I wasn't inspired, right? You know, it sounds like I wasn't grateful for all the things that I've achieved, but I just didn't understand it from a human level, right? You know, I come from, you know, where I come from, and, you know, where I come from, a lot of good things don't happen to us, right? And now, you know, I got the world at my fingertips. You know, I got the most money I've ever made. I could do whatever I want, right? And it wasn't until, you know, a lot of people were just inquiring, like, Ali, how did you do this? How did you do that? Right? I would get DMs asking me, how I did certain processing and how I did certain effects. I'm, oh, that's tight. Like, you want to know how certain times I didn't think I knew what the fuck I was doing, right? You know, I was insecure where I'll do a mix and I'll send it to an artist and I'm like, do you like it? Like, insecurely, like, yo, do you like it? Like, you know,
right.
And they go crazy. They just want a Grammy off, and I'm still like, okay, I guess they liked it, you know.
I guess it worked.
You know, so, but it was just a lot mentally that I was dealing with. And, you know, on the contrary, I'm getting a lot of people responding and messaging me like, yo, you're great. You're doing this, you're doing that. I'm like, it's crazy. So I started posting like tips and techniques and just built up this engineers Instagram where I would just post, just top level things that would come to my mind, right? Different processing tools, tips, different effect, reverb, throw, idea, just things that I would do on a regular that didn't have a process. I was just trying different things. Oh, that sounded tight.
Yeah.
So I'll put that on the assets and I'll post it on social media. And, and a lot of people would, be like, yo, that's tight. I tried it. That shit was incredible. Thank you for that,
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of built this community of other engineers and creators that were just hungry for information that, you couldn't read, you couldn't get by reading a book, right? Because it wasn't in there, right? These processes were unorthodox, right? You don't learn that type of shit by reading it. You learn it by trying different processes. And now I start fast tracking that more and more. More people start, get following. More people start, liking what we're giving from a community level. And we wanted to give these people now something more tangible. And from that, I had this idea of workshops. During the time I was super close with Kendrick's agents, at ICM and William Morris, and I pitched them ideas like, yo, what about a tour for audio engineers and I can go teach? They're like, get the fuck out of here, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm not doing it. Yeah, 100%. I pitched them my idea for this workshop tour.
I'm saying more so their reaction was like that.
The reaction, yeah, 100% was like, there's no value in that, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, bet. So, me being me, I took that as, okay, but I'm gonna do it myself. So we launched pre-sale tickets to our very first Sing Sounds workshops. If anybody remembers those Sing Sounds workshops that we hosted. And it sold out within 2 days. And we used the ticket sales to rent the venue, to rent the equipment, to book travel if we needed to. And we basically just did it ourselves. And, and off of the one that was a massive success, we ended up launching a world tour where we ended up going all through Europe. We went all through the States, Canada, netted almost, close to $500,000 that we used to then go out and book more venues, more, we wanted to keep it going. We had like Brazil, Dubai, we had a lot of stuff planned, and then COVID hit. Right. So once COVID hit, it shut everything down. Right. And, obviously we couldn't travel, but there was one thing that we did at all workshops where we left questionnaires for all of our attendees.
Okay. And
the questions pretty much asked questions creatively, but we asked one, and it was, as a small business, what are some of the problems you're dealing with in real time? Right. And when COVID hit, we were forced to now sit down and look at the information that we've gathered. And it was staggering to realize it wasn't just the inspiration or the education that we were providing, right? We provided the inspiration through the social media posts and the tips and the techniques, and the education through the workshops. It was the business tools, right? When you have a kid in Japan telling me like, hey, I'm having trouble getting credited on these songs. I got a kid in South Africa talking about, oh, I worked with an artist in a different country and I can't get paid, right? And I'm like, I'm partial to all of these issues you guys are outlining to me. And I'm one of the biggest engineers in the world. So there's a through line problem there, right? And when I look at it, the tech stack of an audio engineer, what do we use to manage our business, right? Dropbox, Cash App, Venmo, QuickBooks, Instagram DM, Facebook, Gmail. Like we use all these things to manage a business, but how sustainable is that? Right? So from Instagram to doing the workshops, now it's evident the third phase of EngineEArs, right, was a technical solution, right, that solved those problems that we need, just the bare minimum tools that we need to grow and scale and just manage our businesses. You have plumbers that have technology, right? You have electricians that have technology, right? You have, all of these. Why aren't the engineers that driving the music industry? Why don't we have any tools to manage and sustain and grow our business so we're not fucking late paying 5 years of back taxes?
Come on, especially when if I always say engineering is almost like you're a translator. You're translating the language of an artist to an audience so that it makes sense, right? There's 100%. Ideas they come with, and you're in charge of, okay, I see what you're asking for as an artist. You want it to sound larger. Maybe that's reverb. Maybe that's laying off the compression. Maybe this, whatever specifics it is, you know what that is, but you're the translator. I want to ask one more question before getting into the Symphony OS conversation. A lot of engineers don't get the same level of ownership as producers or artists, and it became a kind of a hot topic about what splits and what how much they should be a part of that team's feature, like you would see with like DistroKid and whatnot. I want to ask this: how does EngineEArs help change that conversation?
I mean, just overall, right? So just going into the platform a bit, right? When we launched with business solutions strictly for audio engineers, right? Allowing us to sign up, create a profile like LinkedIn, where you can highlight your achievements, your credits. You can create a portfolio where you can highlight, work from past clients, right? There's reviews where your current clients can review and give you feedback, give you reviews based on the work you've completed with them, right? But then you can also host services, right? So if you're a recording engineer, you can create a package, right, that solicits hourly session time that you could charge an hourly fee for, right? Or if you're a mixing or mastering or Adobe Atmos engineer, you create a package, right, with these different price points and different incentives, right? So once a client lands on your profile, right, and they select an available package, right, the EngineEARS platforms developed the backend workflows that help that artist collaborate with that engineer when it comes to file transfer, when it comes to revisions, when it comes to feedback. And then once that engineer completes the work, they upload the files, and we become that central source of truth, right? Where in order for that project to begin, that artist must pay. That money is held in escrow while they collaborate. Once the collaboration is approved, payment is unlocked, everyone walks away happy, right? And when it comes to partnerships like Symphony.os, right, we just announced last week that now we're providing ad technology for engineers and studio owners. So now, not even having insights like never before, right? I wish I could just share my screen real quick. Can I?
I think you might be able to. Do you have the present button on your end? Let me see if I can give you that.
Here it is. You see that?
Yeah, I'm gonna add that to the there we go. Okay.
So even as an engineer, right, I'm on my dashboard, right? When as an engineer, anybody on this call, you're able to track your insights on your business on a month-by-month basis, right? You can look at all your gross volume. You can look at your bookings. You can look at everything from a month-by-month, a day-by-day, a quarter-by-quarter, right? And as well as creating these ad campaigns, right? So for the first time ever, you as a small business, whether you're an audio engineer, right, or a studio owner trying to, market your studio to more artists in any part of the world, right? We integrated these 2-click ad campaigns, right, where you could say, I want to do a campaign called, I'm gonna do a camp, 20% off the first booking. I'm gonna choose a template, right? I'm gonna say, hey, I want to use, I want to use create a campaign, choose a template with service full step mixing, right? And I like this one, right? So from here,
that's insane, by the way. That
now I got the
great hairs you could have saved from some engineers.
Man, engineers are meant to be fucking graphic designers, right? Or CT. Right. We're not meant to be chief marketing officers. We're meant to be creatives, right? So now we're giving you the tools that you need to not even think about it. 2 clicks, right? Write the caption, the date, how much you want to spend on a daily basis, right? Review and check out. Now your ad is out in Meta. Right now, you're bringing in visits, and we've enabled profile visits. So you could see that, are my ads working? Are they bringing my profile more visits? And if I'm getting more visits and not conversions and people are not booking, maybe I should lower my rates. Maybe I should make my profile a bit more, maybe I make my profile a bit more, attractive, or, there's something that I should look at on my business because I'm getting thousands of people coming to my stuff, but they're not booking me. Right. Yeah. So again, just being able to provide those like business tools and those insights that were never available to any of us, right?
It's incredible. It's incredible. We gonna always give you your roses, bro, because I'm not an engineer. I do engineering things at times, or I'll mix and whatnot, but I know the complaints that I saw, especially for those that were independently owned, and how much of a headache it was sometimes to lock down the work, and how they would work with clients who would want to speed up the process. Like, man, when you give me my mixes, and it's like, I wish you were that quick about the payment arrangement of it. Right. And I feel like you set up a very fair system for that.
Right. So now even, again, so we've built the platform for engineers, right? We now have one of the biggest platforms with the most, vetted and verified audio engineers and recording studios instantly ready for bookings, right? And what we've seen through our data is now these artists that are coming to engineers to book a studio, get their songs mixed, mastered, right? They're downloading the music and going to SoundCloud, they're going to DistroKid, they're going to TuneCore, they're going to these other platforms, which is just another thing that artist has to manage. So, we're excited to announce Upstream. Upstream is a new product. We're now an artist that comes to our platform and works with our studios, with our engineers, and they have their final product of music. Now they can one-click create direct-to-consumer ad campaigns, or a direct-to-consumer campaign, so they can sell their music direct to their super fans, and they can set up distribution through our partnerships, right? So you can now on one platform create, monetize, promote, right, and do everything under one roof, right? So just being able to sell direct to your, super fans right on your profiles, able to create bundles where you could sell the digital download of an album, right, along with along with a vinyl, along with a merchandise, along with whatever other offering, right, with different price points. You know, we
We
look
need
for
you
our
in this.
platform to be, you know, we look for ourselves to be the operating system of the music industry.
And I was going to say, especially as artists are starting to really question the traditional model of streaming, we need more direct to consumer options. There's some, some platforms are doing some really great work. There were some things that you were talking about, and I don't want to, jump the gun on it, but just seeing these things exist, it just shows just how tapped in you are with not just the engineer community, which obviously they love and revere what you do and what you have done, but doing this for independent artists. They need it more so than ever. So I want to make sure that people know there's a link up there that is pinned. And thank you to all my moderators that are sharing it right now. But go check it out, especially if you're in a situation where you need to look into direct sales. Can you kind of speak to that too, like in terms of where you see the game right now? And a lot of artists are asking and kind of demanding more of not just what the platforms are doing, but also their audience. They're saying, it takes a lot to try to support myself off of streaming. What's kind of your POV on all of this?
I mean, I think when you look at it from top level, right, streaming was just a Band-Aid, right, for piracy, Napster, LimeWire, right? But it was a Band-Aid that has now, lasted longer than expected, to where, it's now your leg, it can't live without the Band-Aid. I think we're now in the paradigm shift in the music industry, right? Currently, as we're speaking about this, right, there's going to be, there is, progress on these solutions that, are in parallel with, let's say, streaming, right? These are artists that have millions of followers. Even that, like we're seeing now artists on our platform that got, 10,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, right? That have, 1,500 fans that are generating the same amount of money they would if they've got 1 million streams, right? In under 4 days, so it's in under 4 days, right? With using EngineEARS direct to consumer, right? So it's, imagine that, right? Now you don't need millions and millions and millions of followers, right? To create a living, right, as an artist. And when you look at things like Spotify or creating this 1,000 stream threshold where you can't monetize your music up under 1,000. So because we're a creation platform, right, we're housing the studios, the engineers to mix, master, right, as well as the ability to release music, right, we're going to incentivize artists to use our platform by gamifying the release of those songs. So instead of saying, hey, you don't get nothing in those first 1,000 streams like other streaming platforms do, we're going to give you points. Right? You get your first 100 plays, we're going to give you points. You get your first 500 plays, we're going to give you points. You get your first 1,000 plays, we're going to give you points. And that the point system can now be used as capital to book more studio time, get more mixes, get more masters, and now develop this catalog. Right? So we're, because we're a creation platform as well as a distribution platform, right? We're enabled in ways to provide incentives and value for the artist community like never before. Right. And that's what's going to disrupt and change this industry, right? Is providing that quick fan to artist solutions, right? Creating real true business solutions, right? And that's how we're going to build this operating system that has never worked before.
I love it, man. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for even creating this, especially in this time period where I think a lot of people are discussing the solutions, right? There's not a lot of folks that are actually doing the work, because I know it's a lot of work, right? To have your own systems in which you are taking some of the, like you said, some of the third-party websites and plugins and making it a one-stop shop.
Right.
That requires a lot of engineering, a lot of coding, and all these different things. But you've done the work, man. I know we're starting to wind down,
and that's why we did it, right? And that's why the whole note is you make the music and we'll do the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I want to respect your time. I know we got you till 2, but I'm curious, man, what's up ahead? 2 questions I got actually before we get up out of here. Where do you see the future of audio engineering heading? And are there any major changes coming that engineers should be preparing for?
I think when it comes to any change, obviously what we're building, right, is a change, right? We're changing behavior, right? In the past, without the EngineEARS platform, we would, send Dropbox links. We would send, mixes through text message, right? We would do things that ultimately hurt us as creators. Me sending somebody a mix and they could just go and upload that without paying me, I'm hurting my business. I'm hurting myself. Right? So we're introducing a platform that just provides that transparency on all sides, right? And that alone is changing one's behavior on what they were already used to doing for so many years before. Right. So as we continue to change behavior, right, we want to salute people like yourself and your podcast and your communities with supporting and being open, right, to using these new tools and adapting to change, right? Because change is not always a bad thing. So that is, I believe, the future of audio engineering is just now that we're looking at ourselves as a fucking business.
Yeah,
right.
so
The right way, getting, we're not asking for nothing more, nothing less than what we deserve. I just spent 18 hours away from my kids and my family to get you this record. The least you could do is pay me on time.
Come on.
No, so
facts.
but when it comes to the industry as a whole, right, there's going to be a massive shift, right, and that shift is going to empower these, empower these artists, right, to now become their own CEOs, right, to now, give them the leverage and the buying power that they need, so then when they do sign a deal to these majors, they have that leverage, right? They're not giving away all these on, again, man, the future is automation, right? And I'm excited to just be in this position, right, to provide this tool, right, made by a fucking creative, not somebody in Silicon Valley that's never stepped foot in a studio.
That's the big part about it, is that that's so powerful, right? When we see people that look like us, that come from areas that are very similar from where we come from, and they show you what's possible, it's like, why are we sitting around talking about there needs to be a solution when there's somebody out here we could be championing that's doing it? I talked to you about the possibility, and I don't want to let the cat out the bag because we haven't really discussed the final thing on that, but I do something called Critique My Beats, where I do a lot of music reviews, and I'm telling you, there is an abundance of artists who need engineering, and I don't know if they're even sure or know about engineers existing, but that's why I had to make sure these conversations are happening. I give all kind of advice, and I'm limited because, like I said, I'm not traditionally a mixing engineer, but if you could give one piece of advice to an up-and-coming independent engineer or maybe artist trying to build their career today, what would that be?
Be three things, right? For one, just always be a dreamer. Never stop dreaming. I think a lot of times, people get so caught up in their everyday life and where they are currently, right? They lose that will to kind of envision the future, right? Manifesting things is real. That's one. Two, always remain a student. Never believe that you know everything, right? Never even want to think that you know everything. Keep thriving and being hungry for information, right? It's only going to make you stronger, right? And the third one is just like going back to the second, is read. There's two books that I want to outline. One is called The Lean Startup, and two is called The Outliers. By Malcolm Gladwell. So, if you have the time, do those. And for the artists that are here, Curtis, for anybody that's on here, I'm going to send you codes. I'm going to give everyone, I think it's 50% off their first mix or master on EngineEArs.
Man, come on.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you, Curtis, we'll give you some codes that you can email to the artists in your community. And, again, my support through you, I want to make sure we support your community.
Yeah.
So,
and that's always important to do, to prioritize Ali, the entrepreneur. There's 1,000,001 questions I could ask about, what you did as a part of the legend of what you did as part of TDE. And not just that. I mean, when I see your name as part of the credits of This Is America, I'm like, this dude is literally hands-on everything. But I wanted to make sure this got the center focus because, bro, like I told you offline, I want to see y'all win because I see it. The moment you described it, I didn't understand it because I hadn't seen anything like it. Now that I see it fully playing out, and not even fully, you guys are still developing things. We want to champion that, especially as a DIY platform. And you're a part of the narrative changing for what DIY is. DIY is not, you remember the cartoon with the dude who got the one-man band and he's doing everything by himself. It's like, no, you guys are delegating, you're doing things the right way. And man, we just salute you for it. Any final words or ways that people can reach out to you, or where you prefer them to go to after this?
Yeah. You go EngineEArs.com, sign up, poke around. We have an incredible community where you can go and, connect with other creatives. But outside of that, man, just continue to support Curtis King. I watched this guy, since the days of Carson, become who he is now. And, it's inspiring, right? I had to tap in. I wanted to make sure, and I want to continue to tap in, Kurt. I know we talked offline about some potential partnerships. So, kudos to everybody in the chat, just hungry for information. Curtis gives tons of it. Just keep being hungry,
There it is, man. One more time, round of applause for Mixed by Ali. the entrepreneur. This is crazy, bro. Look, I'm gonna just say this. When I seen them shoes, I said, nah, he in a different tax bracket now.
Come on, man. You gotta grow, you gotta grow up sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Throw that Sherpa on, you know?
Come on. Look, it is, man. We salute you, man. Thank you for your time, DIYers. This will be up here. I'll get to the timestamps when I can definitely get to them. But thank you once again. Definitely go check the link up there. It's in the description as well. Yeah, DIYers, have an amazing one, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you again, Mixed by Ali.
My brother. Talk to you soon.
Peace.
DIY.
DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.